Sam and Matt, thank you very much. I'll let you introduce yourselves and to lead us into the murky world of Google My Business.
Wonderful. Thanks, Matthew. Hello, everyone. So rather than a sort of formal presentation, I thought what myself and Matthew are going to do is take you through what Google My Business is, how it can be really, really useful for you in your business to grow your business, get more leads. And then also what Matt's going to do is show you through some of the functionality. So I'm going to talk globally about it, and then Matt's actually going to show you the back end of our Google My Business, so you can see where the stats are, where the articles are, and effectively the kind of nitty gritty of it. Because I'm going to sort of, as a business owner, what I've done is I found out that it's really, really important to have Google My Business as one of our sort of foundations for marketing. And then I outsourced the learning of that to Matt and gave him the responsibility to go and do the training and to get the skills and to actually learn about how to do it. So I thought he would be the best person to explain that. The idea being that once he's given you a quick guided tour of what we do, we can actually start answering some of your questions, because there's people in different areas with different levels of knowledge. One thing that's interesting though, and I am pretty sure that every single one of you is using Google My Business. You just may not know it. Google My Business has a long history. So effectively Google Maps is Google My Business. So it started off as a mapping platform, and you could put a pin on the map for your business. Pins could be made and created effectively by users on the internet. And over time, Google Maps morphed into something called Google Places. That became part of the map infrastructure. Google then started to do Google Plus, which was their sort of failed social media platform. And we ended up at that point with like 3 or 4 different profiles all over the show. And Google understood that they'd made a mess of the whole thing. They weren't going to compete with Facebook directly, like for like with social media. So effectively Google My Business is now what's left of all of that. So it's effectively a hybrid of Maps, Places and Google Plus. It is fundamentally part of Google search. If you search a term on Google, unless it's kind of I guess if it's a verb, if it's a thing, you will likely get a Google My Places, Google My Business listing appear, because Google loves it. It gives a lot of real estate to it. If you search New Forest, for example, you'll get one on the right-hand side, which will be normally the national parks profile. And then you might get a number of other businesses lower down. If you search for something local, like a plumber, plumber New Milton or something, you will absolutely get Google My Business listings at the top of search. So if you're not optimizing your Google My Business, you are missing out on a lot of traffic. And it's the little thing with the website phone reviews. It's a really important part of your marketing mix. It's kind of one of the pillars. I'm just going to do a screen share now, because what I thought was just to give you some context. If I can do this effectively, where am I? That's the one to share. So this is a checklist. I'll talk to you in a minute, but I'll just give you an idea of what I meant. So this is a search for New Forest, and effectively these are Google My Business listing. The New Forest National Park probably may or may not have set that up. And actually you can get things on here. New Forest District, no one's ever claimed ownership to that. It's just something that Google thinks is a place. So it's given it a site. So some of you have said, oh, I've got a listing, but I don't know where. It's like, well, you will get one created if Google thinks that you are a bona fide business or a thing on the internet. What you need to do is claim the listing and take it as yours. And you have to do some authentication. You have to get sent either a letter or an email or something to prove that you exist. So effectively, these are all Google My Business listings. You can see they kind of map across the whole area. And these pins are effectively places that have got a profile. And you can see over here, they've pulled out some of the prime ones, Wildlife Park, and there we are there. So, you've got these listings. So your business probably has one. Some people do a lot with it, some do nothing, but it's a very, very important part of your sort of foundations of marketing, really. I can't remember the name of the lady, but the Red Shoot Holiday Park, sorry to do this, but I had to Google you while you were there. So this is your Google My Business. She's obviously been responding to her reviews, but these photos, you can get, if you get control of it, you can choose what goes here and what displays here. If you're not careful, you'll get user submitted data, and that can be quite random. And also someone's running ads on your platform here, whereas you could actually have your own availability in there rather than having somebody else's, because Google does a whole lot of e-commerce and will be pushing that more in the future. So I thought I'd just share that really briefly with you. I'm going to get rid of that, get rid of this, and talk you briefly through this. So as part of the Entrepreneur's Marketing System, which is a template and a map that we use to promote and grow our business, one of the 11 foundation blocks is the Google My Business, because it is very, very important to what you do in terms of getting leads. This is effectively a checklist to make sure that you've optimized your profile. So effectively, you want to be able to tick off all these boxes to make sure that you are showing the world what you do, because actually more people will probably see your Google My Business listing than see your website. That's pretty much how it works now with Google. So because they will show the Google My Business listing higher than you'll get actually a lot of people, or more people potentially view Google My Business than your website. So you really need to put a lot of effort into making it work. Takes 2 to 3 hours to go through this. It'll take a bit longer if you've got to create some content for it. But effectively, this kind of checklist here would cover off the main parts. I'll let Matt kind of show you what we've done, but this effectively gives you the kind of how to, if that makes sense. It will even create a website for you. So if you are a business, you haven't got a website, if you complete enough information on the platform, it will build you a website based on those images, contact details, products you can put on there. You can sell stuff directly through it. There's a whole load of stuff that you can do, which may or may not be relevant depending on how your business works. So that's a whistle stop tour. I think it'd be useful if people can if you've got any questions now, pop them in the chat, and then I'll have a little look at those while Matt gives you a tour of our back end, and then we can answer those questions with Matt showing you how we've done it. I think might be a nice way to sort of do this. I think I will just stop sharing the screen just there and come back to you all. Have we got any? Cool. So Matt, are you okay to talk people through the back end of our site, show them, how the stats work and how we get messages from it and how we get leads and all that kind of stuff? I'll leave you to it.
Yes. So hi everyone. I am Matt. I'm the marketing coordinator at New Forest Activities. I will just share my screen with you so you can see the back end of what Google My Business looks like. Can everyone see that okay? Yeah, cool. So yeah, as Sam said, that checklist was super handy for us when we were making sure that every part of Google My Business was filled out with some information. As Sam said, it is ranked quite high, like at the top of Google search results. So you want to have as much information in there as humanly possible so people can find what they need. It starts with the basics really. So this is the back end of Google My Business. All of this is editable by yourself. So you want to start by putting in the basic info for your business. So address, opening hours, phone numbers, seasonal opening hours, your website links and other bits like that. So then these will accumulate on your Google My Business profile here. So people can quickly make a call to you, find you on Google Maps, go straight to your website and see if you're actually open. And then another great part of Google My Business is that people can leave you reviews. I know that a lot of you mentioned that you're already using this kind of format, but Google actually does rank businesses higher when they have better reviews on Google. So what we've tried to do in the past is push a lot of people to TripAdvisor to review us, which is obviously great. But it's actually worth investing some time to get people to review you on Google as well, because you will start to then rank higher, because Google wants to give people better businesses basically in the Google search results. So if you've got a good review kind of star system on your profile, then you're going to rank higher for that. You can also, a new feature that Google My Business has now is people can actually message you directly through Google My Business. You do need to install the app on a mobile device to be able to receive messages. So we've got it on an Office mobile that we have here, and people can message us and it goes directly through to the phone and we can respond to inquiries straight away, almost like a live chat in real time, which is really handy. We've also uploaded all of our products that we do as a business. So New Forest Activities is an outdoor activities provider. So we have uploaded all of the activities that we do onto Google My Business, and you can actually break them down by category as well. So if I nip back over to our actual profile, you'll see that our products are here and people can actually click on them and find out more about them, and then link through to the web page for that activity and book it on our website. So putting in as many links as possible into Google My Business will just generate you more web traffic as well, which is always a bonus. And then what you can also do is list all of the services that you provide as a business. So this is really great for people when they're searching for certain things. So as an example, in our Insights tab, which is just on the left here, you can see that Google My Business accumulates the top search terms that people search, and then they come across your Google My Business profile. So as you can see, for us, people are searching things like New Forest kayaking, New Forest cycle hire. So what we've done is actually listed these as in the list of our services. So then we're more likely to rank higher for those when people are searching for them. So if you're like a restaurant that specializes in a certain type of food, or a hotel that gives different services like spas and stuff like that, literally anything that you offer needs to be put in here as a service, because then you're going to be coming up in this Google search results for people looking for that particular thing. As an example, if I go to our Insights, you will see that, if I just click this, you'll see that 80% of people that found our Google My Business profile, they actually were searching for a category, product, or a service. So the fact that we've used those keywords for people, how they found us, and then listed it as a service we actually provide, has helped us to rank higher in the Google search results. And then these stats are really interesting actually, because you can see, I know Sam mentioned earlier that like the Google My Business being on maps has such a big function nowadays. A lot of people really rely on maps for planning out their trips when they're visiting certain areas and they want to see how far away an attraction is from their accommodation, for example. So you can see that 281,000 people found us on Google Maps in the last quarter. And you can also see here that almost 2,500 people requested directions to our business as well. So the importance of Google Maps when it comes to people planning their trips is just getting bigger, really. So it's really important that your Google My Business is filled out as much as possible. So when they find you on maps, they can find the information they need really quickly. And then another really handy part of the back end is that you can actually see the areas where customers are requesting directions to get to your business. So this, for example, would really help when you are perhaps using Google AdWords or something like that to target particular areas surrounding your business. So as you can see, like Southampton's a big one for us, Brockenhurst is a big one for us. So we would probably look to target those areas with our ads because that's where most of our customers seem to be coming from. So that's really interesting. And then another really interesting part of this is Google My Business gives you the option to add posts to your profile. So as an example, I'll show you ours. So we're actually treating Google My Business now like another social media platform. So anything that we post on any of our social media platforms also gets posted on Google My Business as well. So you can post photos, updates for the business, any offers that you've got on, and all of that will be populated in your Google My Business profile. So just as an example, we recently launched a 50% off offer for NHS workers. So that offer has now showed as a post in our Google My Business profile. And yeah, as you can see from the insights here, because we post a lot of photos with our updates, our photos receive 867% more views than similar businesses to us. So it's really proving that we're utilizing Google My Business a lot more than perhaps other people in our industry, and they might not realize the value that it has. So yeah, that's just a bit of a whistle-stop tour, but the insights in particular are really quite interesting. So, but obviously if anyone does have any questions, drop them in the chat and we will be happy to answer them.
Brilliant. Thanks, Matthew. That's brilliant. I just wanted to flag something up as well. I don't know if you saw there, but we'd had nearly 500 calls directly from Google My Business. So those are leads. That's people effectively wanting to buy stuff from us or making genuine inquiries. So, as much as it's nice to see 250,000 people have viewed your profile, actually, as a business owner, I can see 500 people have actually, inquired from that. And to get 500 leads would cost you a lot of money on Facebook ads or Google ads. And all you need to do for Google My Business is play their game and provide users with really useful information. That's what Google is set out to do. Google organizes and sorts the world's information. So if you provide really good information to people, Google's going to thank you for that by showing people that information because it's really useful, and it kind of perpetuates. The better your information, the more they'll show you, the more people find out about your business, understand what you do. Like Matt says, we are using it now as a tool, as part of our communication strategy. One thing that Matt didn't mention is FAQs. On Google My Business, there's a section where people can ask questions. And there's actually a user, people can answer it as users as well. If people log in to do reviews, it's the same sort of functionality. So what you can do, if there's FAQs that you're always getting, you can get a member of your staff to write that question on Google My Business, and then you can answer it as the business owner. And effectively you again, it's providing a service to your potential clients that helps them to understand where they're going. I guess the only downside that we find with it, and it's a small one, is that because people rely so much on Google Maps for navigating, they will often turn up at our offices, not where they're actually supposed to be, because our activity bases are spread around the Beaulieu estate. So we have to have literally a stash of local maps in the office to give to people that just assume that we are where it is on the map, rather than reading the actual information that we've told them a number of times they should read. So I guess that's a whistle-stop tour about how we've used it. I can make the sort of checklist available to people. I've got, there is ways of getting that to you. What I want to do before I talk about that, though, I'm just going to try and have a little look through the questions here. I don't know what have we got? So there's a question on keywords there from yourself, Phil. What Matt was showing you was the keywords that people had used historically to find us. And then that allows us to then optimize for those terms to do more. You basically can kind of guess what you might want to rank for by putting in that as a service and that as a product. And then once you've effectively set your stall out and said, we provide web services or whatever it is that you do, then you'll find that people will start to find you when they search that keyword. And there is a location element to this. They're going to need to search web services New Forest or web services Brockenhurst to effectively find you. It will rank you based on how close to the geographic location that people are searching, as well as, like Matt says, you wouldn't get a 5-star business showing up from North Hampshire if you were searching for something in the New Forest, right? Yeah. But it will rank the New Forest ones based on ranking. Obviously, trying to second guess Google's algorithms is often a fool's errand. Your best bet is to serve the user. That's Google's priority, is the user above all else. So, as soon as people are using sneaky, what we call sort of black hat techniques to effectively trick Google or to some degree trick Facebook into overly ranking you, you will get found out and the algorithms will update. they were all algorithms are optimized for user attention and use to that user. If they see you and never click on you, you're going to get down ranked. If they see you and click on you all the time, they're going to up rank you. You know, it's you know, you've got to put yourself in the mind of your ideal customer. What questions are they asking? What are they searching? What do they want to see? You know, they want to see, I mean, there was a phase where there was photographers going around doing the 360, like internal shots of venues. That can be really useful for hospitality. We used to have that. We've moved offices in the last few months, so we haven't been able to update that. But obviously on the checklist, having videos and photos of your premises is going to, you know, people buy from people ultimately, don't they? They want to see the identity behind the listing. They want to see the people, the premises. You know, who is it that's building this business? Who is it that's offering me these services? And you know, like Matt says, you need to see Google My Business now as a foundation of your communication. And, you know, I mean, to some degree, potentially a well-optimized Google My Business will almost be more useful to some degree than a website, because people might not even go to your website if they get what you'll need off your GMB listing. Because they can call you, message you, get hold of you sort of straight away on there.
Great. Sam, we've got one question coming from Elaine about making sure you're one of the businesses that shows on the map. If you Google search, for example, insolvency in Bournemouth, Elaine is hoping that Antibatti Company will be showing on that.
So there's no guarantees, certainly not in this life and certainly not on Google, but you can give yourself the best possible chance. So by optimizing your profile, by going through the steps on the checklist and by understanding what your users need, you will have a better chance. I mean, to some extent, Google is doing a bit of a lottery. So arguably it will show 3 businesses at random. And then as things get clicked on and attention, it will likely show that business more in future. Does that kind of make sense? So effectively, you know, it's like when you use your Facebook feed, the kind of stuff that you click on or scroll over or hover on or engage with, funny enough, that's the stuff that sort of perpetuates. That's the stuff you see more of. And Google's effectively doing the same with Google My Business. It's throwing stuff up there and seeing what the feedback is. So if you've got a really poor Google My Business and the user feedback is disinterest or not, you're not clicking on it or they're not going into it, then Google's going to be like, well, that's not relevant, and they'll downgrade it. You know, so you've got to kind of be in it to win it, as they say. You need to play the game. Google will reward you for playing the game. And playing the game means completing all the parts that make up a complete profile. You'll have seen it on LinkedIn and Facebook. They talk you through how to complete a profile. Google is the same. And it you know, it really does surprise me. You see some businesses, they haven't even claimed their own listing. You know, because there will be one there potentially for your business. It will just say claim this listing, and you just need to claim it. They'll post the code to the address on Google My Business, and you put that code into the back end, create a password, and hey presto, you have full control over your Google My Business listing.
Thanks, Sam. Gillian's feeling lonely. She has no followers.
Yeah, I'm going to hand that over to Max. I'm not quite sure how we get followers. It might be Matt. Do you know about that?
I don't think followers is actually a thing with Google My Business. It's not, although I said we do treat it like a social media, you don't actually have followers that keep up with the content, but it's just good to continually keep it updated so that people can see what's currently going on in your business if they come across your profile. So
because I've got the app, so I go into the app and it says at the top there, it's got customers, says reviews, messages and followers, and if I click on followers it says no followers yet.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah, I mean, that's not something that we've really explored with it as regards to followers, but yeah, I'm not quite sure about that one, but certainly something I can look into and share with everyone.
And then same with the customer, then how, like, where does your customer come from? Obviously, because I've got pictures and all that in there and they're seeing them. You can see people have been looking at them. It says how many views, but then how do they become a customer? Only once you've interacted with them?
So it's mostly when they become a customer when they leave you a review. So a lot of customers tend to post their own photos and to say that they've been at your certain location. So then those then generate as your customers' photos. So then they're registered as one of your customers then.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so Sam and Matt, another one is there are quite a few people on the call who work from home, not because of COVID, but because that's where work is. And so Francis, and I'm sure others, are asking about physical location. It might not be that you want an arrow on your house. Any thoughts around location?
So yeah, you do actually have to have a physical location with Google My Business, just because of how it's so heavily integrated with maps, and like the way people search, it will show them businesses that are close to their current location. But you can actually choose to hide your address in your Google My Business profile if you want to, but it's not usually recommended because people do require to, like, they want to know where things are close to them. So that's kind of the main structure of Google My Business, really.
Yeah, you can set it up. It does need to be linked to an address because that's how they verify what it is. It's a physical thing, as I sort of said earlier on. But you can show that you don't provide services at that location. So you know, if you were a mobile hairdresser, for example, you could still have a Google My Business profile. You would just need to make it very clear that you don't do things at your business address. There was talk, and I've just done a quick Google to the side while I was doing this. There was talk of having this as a function, so you could have a service-based Google My Business. I'm not quite sure how Google's rolled it out or whether they have. I would just do a bit of your own research, really. It's, you know, thing is, Google is always evolving, you know, so what we've talked about now, that checklist, that will be out of date probably next year. Google is heavily investing in sales, so they'll be selling directly through the platform. We tested it earlier this year, last year, Matt, but they let us put 3 products up, and we were like, we'd just rather have them into our own funnel so we can do remarketing and some other cool stuff. So we left it, but I've got no doubt that in time Google will be competing with the online travel agents. They will be effectively creating their own market. At the moment it's free, you don't pay commission on those sales, but Google, I'm sure, will monetize once. Google basically captures market share and then monetizes. So, you know, what they'll do is they'll capture the market share. They'll get people used to booking through Google My Business. They'll get used to people paying on that platform because you've all probably got Google Pay registered now with your cards and everything's saved on Google. And then they'll no doubt start not charging the user because the users have a free experience, but they'll charge the businesses on the back end that benefit from it. I'm sure that will happen in time as well.
Great. Thanks for that, Sam. Something to look forward to. Phil's got his hand up.
Yeah, just a quick point. I work from home, so people don't turn up at my home for the business. It just might be worth mentioning my address. I took the number off my house number off, so Google shows me as the road name in New Milton and so on, which might be a way that you can get around it if you don't want people just to turn up. Clearly, they're not. If they don't have a number, they're not going to just turn up.
Yeah, there's definitely ways of doing it. I mean, the biggest challenge is to authenticate. I'm going to try that word, but to prove you are who you are,
authenticate.
Authenticate. That's the word. They do need to send you a physical thing in the post. You know, that is a way. And we struggled because one of our activities, Battlefield Live, has got its own website and sort of profile as a brand, but we were trying to use the office address, and Google won't let you have 2 things at the same address. It doesn't like that to happen. So you have to be able to differentiate yourself between, you know, the flat above you, below you, or whatever, if you are stacked up. But I'm sure there's a way around it. You'll just, you know, you're all individuals. You'll have to kind of look at the nuances of it. But the bottom line is you really do need to be getting it optimized. It doesn't take long to get it, you know, reasonable. But obviously you do need to allow a bit of time each week if you really want to maximize the amount of leads that you're generating from them. And it depends how many leads your business needs. Ultimately, that's, you know, how much time you spend on the platform. Are there any more questions in there, Matthew, that we can?
Yeah. So, I mean, you've mentioned a couple of times about, like you just said, maximizing and so on. Vicky asked about, would it help your SEO? The more you put in, not particularly the news on the profile and so on. But I guess, if anyone's still asking the question why you need to do this, it's back to that again, isn't it? It's about raising your presence, your profile, making sure that people find you rather than someone else.
Absolutely. If you're providing a local service, your Google My Business profile will always outrank your own website. And you'll probably outrank even your best competitor. The only thing that Google will show above often Google My Business rankings is AdWords. And if you're using AdWords and Google My Business, then you're going to have two things on that top first page of Google without worrying about your SEO. It's a very, very powerful tool, and people are quite happy, it seems, to spend a lot of money with SEO professionals and not spend 2 or 3 hours just sorting their own profile out. It's not particularly hard. It just takes a little bit of time. Google's made it really intuitive on the back end there, as you saw from Matt's. And at the end of the day, I'm sure any of you could find some 20-year-old that's keen to kind of do it, pay them a few quid and they'll sort you out. You'll just need to make sure they've got the videos that you need to, you need to create some content, some collateral. You can, but you just, like Matt says, use it as a communication channel. It's we're all content producers nowadays, and if you're not, you need to be, because that's what Google will reward. It will reward people that show up and put out content, and users love it too.
Thanks, Sam. Matt's been responding to some questions about messaging, and I guess that probably was something new for a lot of people, the fact that people can message you. Is there anything else you just want to add about messaging?
I think that generally messaging is like becoming more of a thing when it comes to marketing. Like, a lot of people are doing chatbots and other bits like that. So it is quite a growing thing when people don't have time to make calls. Perhaps they're doing things in the evening when businesses are closed, that kind of thing. So the kind of importance of having the messaging function on your Google My Business is quite high, and it's a good way to get information to people. It's just another channel really that you can communicate with your customers through. So there's no reason not to use it really.
And Jackie and perhaps others are wondering how to get it going. So just remind people about the process and the app and so on.
So you just head to your app store. You can do it on Android or through Apple. And then if you just search Google My Business, and the app will come up. And then once you've downloaded it, you just need to sign in with your credentials, and then it'll load up your Google My Business profile that some of you may already have. And then there's an option in there to enable messaging for your Google My Business profile. So it walks you through it step by step. So it's pretty easy to understand.
Good. And you mentioned the most important thing, it's completely free as well.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Very good. Excellent. So we've got about 5 or 6 minutes left. If anyone else has got any physical questions, if you want to take it back to simple or get more complicated. Just say welcome to Dave from all the cool stuff, and thanks for joining us today. Is that something you're using? You're one of the, I think, the few on here as in retail.
Admittedly, it's not. It's something that vaguely aware of, but like purely down to self-motivation and getting it sorted, I haven't done it. This has been a real help, especially now, because a great chunk of what I do is events based. And where that's now off the table for the foreseeable future, I need to really put more reliance into drawing people to the retail outlet, rather than where I'd normally be going out to where people are interested in the sorts of things that I sell. So no, this has been a real benefit. But I would say I'm pretty, I'm not amazing at social media. I'd say I'm above average. So that bit's good, but certainly on this front, I'm dead in the water. So it's been really good to get a chance to sort that out.
No, absolutely. And I know you were called away at the beginning, but all of this is recorded and on our website. And,
yeah, sorry, but there was a traffic accident outside. So it all went a bit crazy for a few minutes.
But I guess it will be very important, Sam, that certainly someone with a retail premises, a physical premises like that at the very least claim it, make sure that people know where to find you and how to get to you.
Yeah, so David's got a Google My Business. He's got 31 Google reviews. He's pretty well ranked. I'm assuming you're in Fordingbridge, David, is that right? 64 High Street, is you?
That's the one. Yeah.
So I don't know whether you've claimed it, but you've definitely got a profile. You've got a bunch of reviews on there. It's linked to your Facebook profile. It says suggest and edit, own this business. So you maybe haven't claimed it because I can.
I've just done it.
Well done.
After you said that, I was just literally doing it as we were talking.
So you've already got one there, and you've got photographs that I'm sure the Google car took when it last drove past your property, and you want to now start making that your own rather than Google's effectively auto complete. And this is the thing. You probably will have one. I mean, certainly if you've got a retail shop, you definitely Google will create one, and you're 30 of your happy customers know about it because they've reviewed you on there as well. So your job's quite easy. You've already got one. You just need to kind of go in there and tweak it and optimize it and put some products up there. Start asking some questions, and hopefully you'll get some calls off it and start making business from it.
No, thank you. I appreciate that.
Thanks. So Sam, as we sort of start winding down, I mean, you're getting very much involved in this coaching and supporting local businesses such as ours, and we're very grateful for your time today, and so on. In terms of priorities, because you're going to get this thing about people either too busy or don't know what to do, or both. What I would like is sort of simple advice. At the very least, you're coming away from this session, what should you do by 5 o'clock today?
Claim your listing if you haven't already, and effectively get to know it. Look at what's on there, who's reviewed you. Is your pin in the right place? Does it? What are the photos like? Is it all user generated? Is it because this is what you look like to the world. Believe it, whether you like it or not, this is what people are finding when they search your business. So I would say today's job is to really just take ownership of it and get to know it. Because you might find the stuff you quite like, and if there's reviews on there, particularly ones that you don't want on there, then you need to get and respond to people. One of the downsides of Google My Business with reviews is people can leave random reviews. They don't need to be customers, and they can just, and I don't know if you've ever seen it on your phone, but it will flash up, would you like to review this place or this place? And we get quite a lot of people just literally hit a random star as they walk past. I mean, thankfully not too much, but you can get some negativity in that. So if you've got low star reviews with no comments, you need to just say, I don't think you were a customer, we can find no records. You've got to basically fight your corner. It's a bit like TripAdvisor in the fact that they write a review, you get a one-shot response, but unlike TripAdvisor, Google aren't there in the background to take things down and kind of help you out. And Matt might correct me on this. You might be able to kind of get them removed if they're unsolicited. I don't know, Matt. Can we do anything with that? I know we can with TripAdvisor.
Well, we haven't had any bad reviews on ours yet, so I haven't had to do it. So I'm not 100% sure. But like Sam said, it's so important that if it does happen, just to make sure that you're responding to every single one. Just because if people come across a negative review, then at least you have a space where you are able to kind of reignite the customer's confidence in you as a business with your response. So it's super important.
We can always put a bad one on for you if you want to test it. Just recalling from when we did a session on reviews at the beginning of the year, when we got the guy in from TripAdvisor, his strongest advice was the rapidity of your response. That certainly TripAdvisor will shove you way up if you answer within 48 hours. And I just wonder, I wouldn't be at all surprised if Google likes a fairly swift response as well.
Yeah, but users will like a response because they want to know, because it does tell you, if you leave a review somewhere, it will tell you that the business owner has responded. They can't respond, obviously, but they do get a notification. And I think if there is an art form to respond to negative reviews, which is a totally different topic, but you can encourage them to take them down if you know, if they don't like how you've responded or what have you. I mean, priorities really is ultimately about that primary information. Is it all correct? Is your address correct? Is your phone number working when they click the button? You know, does the web page work when they click on the website? I mean, all the kind of core basics really. You know, if you think about, if you built a website from scratch, what would be your must-haves? What do your customers need? You know, they want to know why you're in business, what you sell, and how you can help them with those products, I would imagine. So you want to get that information distilled onto your Google My Business as a priority. You know, whether you go for the bells and whistles and you do it. I mean, one thing we haven't even talked about is events. You can list events on there. I was chatting to the chap at the bottom of the high street in Bewley, and he was going, "Oh, I've got these events coming up." I was like, "Have you put them on Google My Business?" Like, what? Like, no, like Facebook, you can put events, and you know, people can sign up to them, and you know, they've got this whole, I mean, it's a whole ecosystem that Google's built for business owners. It's, you know, it's almost crazy to ignore it, because Google is the #1 search, you know, provider on the planet. It's where most people get most of their information, and yet we've got all these kind of ghost Google My Business sites sat there from businesses that are probably really, really good. The owner just hasn't woken up to the fact that it's an important part of their marketing mix, you know?
Yeah, and it's Jane who says, just remember how valuable it is, and actually how straightforward it can be. Even if you just do it in building blocks, just get the basics right. Absolutely. You know, how can people find you if they click on maps to find you? Can people call you? Can people message you, and so on? So no, absolutely. Thanks for that. So any last advice while we've got two experts in the room? Any other questions? Yeah.
I would personally, as well as obviously the building blocks on the checklist, one thing which is quite a quick win. Well, part of the training I did was that they recommend that you have at least 10 reviews for every year of that you've been in business on Google. So kind of set that as a benchmark for yourself. So one quick win you can do is just email like your clients if you can, and just say, would you mind reviewing me on Google? And then that's a good way to start ranking higher in the search results as well. So
yeah, no, absolutely. Not being backward and coming forward about asking for reviews and explaining why it matters.
Yeah.
And certainly the tip I got from TripAdvisor is that we now email all those we know who've had a good time at the hotel, and we say, could you please put on a 5-star review? And just be clear about that. Don't just ask them to put on a review. Ask them to put on a 5-star review, because apparently the English particularly just don't like to not do what they've been asked to do. And so it's just simple stuff like that. But, you know, just ask for it, and you never know what you might get.
Can I ask just a very, very quick question?
Go for it.
Very quick. I'm just looking at my Google My Business section on the right-hand side. I can't actually see any link that would take me to the back end. How do I get to that section so I can check it and edit it?
So you should be able to, do you log into Google at all on the back end for like Gmail or anything like that? Because it does have a little kind of hub of the different Google apps that you can access on the back end, and Google My Business should be there.
I'll probably have to search for it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just couldn't see anything that allowed me to get to the back end. That was all.
And you are logged in as you.
Just wondering that. Yes, I'm logged in. I can do things like ask a question and send a message, and found it. Edit your business information.
That's it.
I think I was logged into the wrong place to start with, so I just logged into a different account.
Yeah, because obviously if it wasn't you, we wouldn't want anyone editing your information too much. Perfect.
Thank you.
Good. Okay, so we're coming towards the magic hour of 4 o'clock, and we have to sort of wrap up there. But you know, thank you both, Sam again, and Matt, for joining us on this call, and for keeping it you know, simple and straightforward, because so often people sometimes go away from these sessions and just panic and think, well, what do I do, and therefore do nothing. But I'm sure most of us will get something done as a result of this. So we really appreciate that. Sam has a whole book of information, and you know, and I'm sure we'll invite Sam back to cover off another session that's of value for the businesses that we have here in the New Forest. So thank you very much indeed for that.
was going to say, Matthew,
yeah,
sorry, I've just put my email address in the chat down there. You know, it is one of a number of foundation blocks that people should be doing. So if they want, you know, the checklist or access to the book and, you know, a conversation, then just email me and I can help out with that. Sorry to interrupt.
No, not at all. Thank you. And you know, I was just going to say, Sam is offering a lot of support through his coaching role and the business support role, and we're very grateful that you're doing that for the New Forest. There's so many businesses here who are doing extremely well despite everything, and you know, but everyone does need a bit of support. So thank you for that. And as Jane says, can you also remember to add your events to lymington.com, because that's another way of getting promoted as well. I'll let you be your own voice next week, Jane, but thank you for joining. Next week, I've got to take you back, because we do this every year, but it's really, really important. And an annual update is not enough. Cybersecurity again next week, particularly during COVID. If you haven't had an email telling you, for example, that someone next to you is tested positive and here, put your credit card in, then you've been lucky. It's just going on all the time, and it's not intended to scare you. But Tom from Entrust IT in Ringwood will be with us next week, and will just remind us of what, at the very least, you should be doing and what you most certainly shouldn't be doing. So please do try and set aside an hour next Wednesday, the 7th of October already, just to come along and update yourself on cybersecurity. It's not one to miss. So thank you, everyone. Have a good, if rainy afternoon, and we'll look forward to seeing you again another time.
Thanks, guys.
That was brilliant. Thank you.
Thanks for hosting, Matthew. That's brilliant. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.